It is 4:44. I'm just heading out. I can't see my phone anymore, but it said I got 3 hours and 3 minutes to get there. Let's go set some traps. When you find the dilapidated sign, that's when you know you're getting close to the secret spot. We're about a mile away right now. Okay, so just getting started here, and I got everything loaded in my sled. So, let's see. Camera bag, trail cam bag, supply bag, those would be traps, a couple of the other traps, cage trap, bucket trap, box trap. Most of them are already back on the properties, but I need to get there. Cooler full of bait, water to drink, there's an axe in there. But as you can see, the snow is real deep and it's pure powder. So I've just been trailing my way, and I decided to put the longer, really long rope on so that I can have a little more force when I'm pulling through this. And very glad I decided to bring the snowshoes. Hard to make out, but that's a wolf track. A little bit old, probably a couple days because it's kind of frosted over. But it's real big. Keeps on heading down the trail. And I've seen a couple spots where it stopped and pissed to mark its territory. So, might be a good spot to set up a trail cam. I'm fighting for every inch here. Whew. I'm getting there. Slowly but surely, I'm getting there. So, I might be finishing up in the dark today, but it'll get done. So I was walking through trying to find a spot for setting my trap, and I see all of these trails lead to this big spot here. And my first thought was it's where a deer bedded down. But then I got closer and it was just way too big, and then there's just hair everywhere. You can see some blood there, but I mean there's just deer hair just littering the place. And so it must be where a wolf took down a deer. But just fur just everywhere. And there's a scent mark from one of the wolves. That was pretty cool to find. But yeah, I mean, main trail coming there, coming from over there, 2 of them from that way, another one off to the side here. Surprised, because I mean, I don't see any bones. Barely found, like, looks like a little bit of the stomach contents down here. But they just devoured this thing, and then the birds probably took away anything else that was left. Cool find. There's a bunch more deer hair there. A lot of it right there. And behind me here. So it looks like they must have kind of ripped it to chunks, and then they each kind of picked a direction and went off on their own so they could eat in private. But holy cow, over a large distance here. Okay, so getting ready to make my first set here, and saw this area on the map. Decided to come back here because it's really good territory. Like generally you want to hunt what they call edges, which are kind of where like different types of terrain come together. And this has like 3 different varieties. So over on this side, you got a lot of kind of like alder and poplar and that kind of stuff, which is thicker, a little bit older. And then behind me here, you got just thick swamp, rabbit sign all over the place. I just spooked up a snowshoe. Wasn't able to get video though. And then kind of right back behind me, you're starting to get into the pines. So kind of a perfect, you know, coming together right at the corner of a triangle essentially. So I'm gonna set here and see what happens. Okay, so I forgot my tripod, so I wasn't able to show you how I set that up, but here you can see the finished product. So it's a 160 conibear, which is the name of the trap, and then it's in just a square plastic bucket. Has hardware cloth in the back so you can see through it, and then there's a bunch of deer scraps in there that are covered with snow, so they got to try a little bit if they come in. And then on the stick and on the ground there, and then on this hanging I have lure, which is scent. So on this hanging one, it's real like skunky, and that's what Fisher and Marten seem to really like. And then the one on the ground there is like a beaver caster smell, which is like every animal's favorite food. But that's how a bucket set looks, and I'll hopefully be able to show you when I set up the other ones. Okay, so I found another kill site. This time it's rabbit fur. And then, I'm not sure how well you can tell, but if you look, you can see those are the wingtips from birds that have landed. And I don't really see any big tracks coming up to this, so I'm going to assume it's probably a hawk or something that took this rabbit down. But that's pretty cool to see. Just all the random wingtips and shredded rabbit. So at the river property now, that's the frozen over St. Louis River. And there are a lot of wolf tracks down there. A couple of those smaller ones are going to be fox, but the majority of those are all wolves. Now that it's like a really nice, easy to follow highway for them. Okay, so here I have a cage trap, which it's hardware cloth that I made into a rectangle and cut some slots in for the trap to fit into, and then you hang it upside down, vertical on a tree. And I got some, I think, deer neck hanging from the top there by wire. I also have some branches on top just to try and kind of keep birds away a little better. There's also the scent up there, so kind of a beaver caster and a skunk smell. Traps there, a couple spruce branches stuck in just to disguise it a little better. And then cage and trap are wired to the back of the tree. So Marten or Fisher, both very arboreal, come up, run up the base of the tree, straight up into it. That's how you catch them. Alright, let's go to the next set. So, plowing my way back on through. As I'm walking, I notice this. See the stuff all over the ground there. And my first thought was maybe like a red squirrel. They shred pine cones, leave them all over the place. But then I noticed it's just too big an area, too big of pieces. So I'm like, you know what it could be? And I look up, and sure enough, There's Mr. Porcupine just hanging out. So that's pretty cool to see. I don't see too many back here, but I'm sure there's probably quite a few. But anyway, guess I'd show you that. And now, back to breaking trail. Okay, so this is my Bobcat set. So it's a bigger box, bigger trap, and you put that wood on the triggers and bend it down because they can generally feel the metal triggers with their whiskers. And so this way they kind of hit the wood with their chin instead of their whiskers hitting it. And it's supposed to work real good. And if I can get over here, there we go, you can see through the back. And then I've got some rabbit fur, the head, some venison, got all the scents in there again. And then I got feathers and fur thrown all over the place. I got a CD hanging. I got feathers back here. I can find them. Right there, hanging in the breeze. And I've also got feathers right here. So that's my Bobcat set. We'll see what happens. If anyone's ever heard me talking about chaga before, I just found some. And so it grows on birch trees. It only grows in like extreme cold, so like top half of Minnesota's as far south as it comes. And it looks like a charred burl. I like it for tea. Supposedly it's also really good tinder, like it just lights on fire like crazy, which, considering it comes out of a birch tree, I believe. Let's see if I can get where the sun's not in our way here. But this is what it looks like. And so it's real funky looking, you know, almost like a tumor coming off of the tree, but it's, you know, black charred, looks like a burl, a couple of them on this tree. And it only grows on, I don't know, like one in every like 200,000-300,000 trees. But generally, if you find it, there's more in the area. So it's not like if you find this, you know, there's nothing for acres and acres. There's probably more fairly close by, and then a big gap, and then you'll find more. But that's what the heck I'm talking about. And I really like it. Tastes good. But now you know what the heck I'm talking about when I talk about chaga. I'm about to make a set here. And the reason that I found this location was I saw something that bounded across the trail. Saw the tracks, I didn't see the animal. But generally, most things don't bound, you know, they just kind of walk. So usually the ones that bound are Fisher, Marten, and rabbits. And it didn't look like rabbit. And it looked bigger than Marten, so I'm hoping for Fisher. But I followed it a little ways, and then it came into this sprucey area, which is generally a good spot for any of those animals. And then there's just a ton of tracks and piss at the base of this tree. You can see all kind of other debris. And so, there's another porcupine. And Fisher actually eat porcupine. They can either knock them out of the tree, they'll chase them until they knock them down, or if they find them on the ground, or once they knock them to the ground, they are really, really fast. And so they'll bite the face like repeatedly until the animal's like tired, and then they'll flip it over and go for the belly. But they're about the only animal that can successfully go for and eat porcupines. But if anything, this guy's going to be just extra good at making this location where a fisher wants to be. So I'm going to set my box at the base of his tree and see what happens. And if a fisher does come, hopefully it'll go in my box and not after him. But see what happens. Oh, made it literally like 20 yards down the trail. Then we see some familiar signs. Look up, sure enough. And we got this guy hanging out. Okay, so I was setting all day today up by Wirt. Came back to Floodwood to check the sets I had made. This is the first one I got to. And that is a snowshoe hare. So I'm gonna get him out of there and get that reset. Hopefully get a Marten or Fisher or something next time I check it, but happy with the rabbit too. They taste good. I found these tracks, which I saw when I was here last time, but I wasn't able to really tell what they are. But then there's some more of those tracks over here, and they go into a little snow tunnel there. And then a little bit farther over, another trail that's fresher than the others. So I'm not 100% sure what it is, but just by looking at the size of it, I would guess either a mink, and we're right next to a creek, so that's what's making me think mink other than the size of the prints, or Marten are my biggest guesses. So when I checked my last box, nothing was in it, and it wasn't too far from this location. And so, since there's all the fresh tracks, reset the box right where they all come crisscrossing, and I also set up a trail cam, so even if it doesn't go in, hopefully I'll get pictures to see what it is. But now it's time to get the heck out of here, get home. Probably be about midnight by the time I do, so see you later. Walking into my first set by Wirt. See if we find anything. And nothing. Trap still set, still got bait. And we still got the scent hanging here. So, moving on to the next one, but hard not to appreciate how nice everything looks. So why on earth would I drive so far, blaze miles of trail, go through all this hassle, work, time, effort, just to try and catch a couple of animals? Well, this is why. You're not doing it for the animals. That might be an added goal, but you're doing it because you get to be out in this. Just gives you the excuse to get outside, be a part of this. No one else around, all to myself, and absolutely gorgeous. That's why I'm here. Any animal I get is just a bonus. Okay, so I was coming into the set here and wasn't expecting a lot. Everything else has been empty. And then there's a big snowstorm that's supposed to be coming on Saturday, and so I was thinking I'd have to take everything down early. While I'm walking up, I didn't think anything was going on, and then I noticed the trap was set off, and then I'm looking, I couldn't tell what it was. I grabbed it a little bit already, so there's a little bit less snow than before, so you can actually kind of see them. But came up, looked, and we got a marten. Super excited about that. And I mean, look at how nice that color is. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see the kind of orange throat patch. But trap got him exactly what you want. Got right at the base of the skull, back of the neck. So, you know, breaks their neck, they're done. They don't feel a thing. And got him in back too, which means he was coming in real hard when he found that bait. But first marten I've ever gotten. Really excited about that. I'm gonna have to get him thawed out before I take him out of there. I don't want to ruin the fur, but once that happens I'll show you guys what he looks like again. But super excited. That was in one of the wire cage ones. And then just to look around, I'm in kind of a big cedar stand. Oop, that was the fur with scent on it to help bring them in. But yeah, I'm in a big cedar stand, so it's pretty covered, not quite as dense as snow here, which might be why it was hanging out here instead of anywhere else. But either way, plan came together. We got a marten. Heck yeah. Then I had to fill a tag out before I transport them here. Basically the same thing as filling out like a deer tag, but it's month, AM, PM, Fisher or Marten, and the date. So Marten, December 26th in the PM. Alright, heading into my last set here up near Wirt. Let's find out if I got anything. But I've been taking down all the other traps. I got a couple to double back on, take out on my way out. But taking them all down up here. And then see how late it is. May or may not go back to Floodwood and take those out. Otherwise I'll be there probably Saturday to do it. Hopefully ahead of the snow we're supposed to get. But got one marten, real happy about that. Don't need any more. And we'll be back out next year. But let's just take a look and see if anything came to this one. And nothing. So we'll get this taken down and head on out of here. So taking the traps down and getting everything loaded up. And there's my big chunks of bait, mostly venison. But just dumping those out, leaving them here, letting critters find them and whatever. Just kind of a thank you to the forest for providing me with a marten. So rather than retaking my bait to use later, I'm gonna just let things have it. Alright, so got the marten out of the trap and got him mostly dried off. But now you can see a little better. I don't know if the color is gonna show up quite as well as it should, plus it's not in daylight so you can't tell, but really gorgeous red like mahogany. And then you can see the throat patch. Pretty small throat patch, but still nice nonetheless. And then on the feet here, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell on camera here, but they got claws that would put a cat to shame. And the reason they got claws like that is because they're super arboreal. I mean, these things are like murder machines, and they can out-climb squirrels, so they eat a ton of red squirrels especially. And then if you can see all the teeth there, I mean, they're real gnarly, because this dude's definitely a carnivore. But absolutely gorgeous. We are coming up on the creek set, where I think there was that mink trail, so we'll see if we got anything. I just kind of give you a look around of the terrain we got here. So a little bit brushy, a little bit piney, and then we're on a ridge overlooking a creek. But once you get to the end of this ridge here, you should be able to look down and see if we got anything. And there is something. From here I can't tell what it is, but we definitely have something in the box. Looks pretty big, looks pretty dark. It might be a fisher. That's pretty dang cool. And I guess it's kind of hard to tell from this distance. There we go. If you look over here, now we're looking down the creek. So we're just above the creek on a ridge. Box is a little bit lower, but we got something, so let's take a look. And that is definitely a fisher. Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so nice. That is so nice. Alright, I'm going to take him out of there so I can show you. But, oh, that's exciting. So I got the fisher out of the trap. I'm going to show you how nice looking she is. Starting to get a little bit of snow buildup because it just started snowing, which is why I'm here taking traps down now, so I don't have to try and go through this later. But, I mean, look at that. Really, really nice grizzled looking fur, yet brown just fading into dark black at the tail. And there, I mean, you can see big those claws are, because again, like the marten, it's a climber, and so a marten can outclimb a red squirrel, fisher can outclimb a marten. There you can see how big the teeth are. I mean, definitely predator, carnivore. And then on the underside, you got these really nice patches on the armpits here. And some right in the crotch there. So gorgeous, gorgeous animal. Man, so happy about that. That's just so nice. And then, yeah, as far as the weasel family goes, the only thing you're going to find bigger than this is once you get to a wolverine. But super excited about that. So one last thing before I go. I realize I never really explained how these traps work. So that's the general shape of it when it's not set. And so these two pieces are springs. They get compressed, and then there's two square pieces here that pivot on each other. And so I can show you that here. They use this big old setting tool to squeeze the springs together, and then there's a hook latch that you put over it, which is your safety. Keeps the spring compressed then. And so, once it's compressed, then you're able to move it. So now you can see a bit better here. But it's two squares of metal, pivot in the middle. And so when you're setting it, you're crisscrossing them essentially. So you crisscross it right like that. And you squeeze them together. And then you've got notches on the top, and then the two wire triggers hanging down. And then you can take your safeties off when you put it in. And then if anything hits it, the two squares will pivot against each other and come down. That's what hits the animal, and you're aiming for right at the base of the skull, right on their neck there, is what you want to get. So that's how you set it. And then I'll just show you here. Put it back in the box. And so anything that comes along, you would hit these trigger wires, and it's just immediate. Slam down, and now the springs are back out, putting full tension on. And I mean, even if I tried my hardest, there's zero chance I could open this up. The only way you can do it is to compress the springs. And I can't do it. There's no way an animal is going to be able to do it. So once that goes off, especially you get them right on the base of the neck there, they're done. I mean, it's over pretty dang quick. Nothing to complain about. But that's how the traps work. And thank you, Fisher and Marten, for giving yourselves to us. It's appreciated. Thank you for your sacrifice. Just got my final trap all packed up and got stuff thrown in here. Most of it's staying here, luckily, but hauling a little bit back out with me to bring home. But it's definitely snowing now, so let's get the heck out of here and head home before the roads get too bad. The road is right up there. Kind of that flat spot before you hit the other pines. I just want to take one final moment to appreciate how absolutely gorgeous this country is. I mean, this is why I'm here. I'm extremely excited and happy about the Fisher and Marten that I got. But an excuse to get out, to enjoy this, explore new areas, see new things. That's why I'm out here. So, thank you, Forest. I appreciate you and all you do for me and everything else that lives here.